Hi again, my name is Charlie and I am the Employer Learning Lead. Today's topic is my PA thinks we're friends. There is absolutely nothing wrong with a warm, friendly relationship with your PA. In fact, it's often one of the best parts of employing your own staff. You spend a lot of time together, you laugh, chat, and naturally get to know each other's lives. But being friendly and being friends are not always the same thing. Understanding the difference has been one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my 17 years as being a PA employer. When I first became an employer, I wanted my PA to feel comfortable and appreciated. We chatted, joked, stopped for coffee, and sometimes bought each other little gifts. Essentially, I thought we were best friends. For me, the relationship became too friendly and the boundaries quickly disappeared and became stressful. Now I've found a much healthier balance between being approachable, open, and professional. Some employers prefer a more formal relationship, others are more relaxed, and neither approach is right or wrong. That's what is that's important. What's important is that both understand where the boundaries are. For example, messages outside of working hours should be for genuine emergencies only. If you regularly contact your PA in the evenings, they may also expect you to be available to them. Make it clear that there's no expectation to reply or answer. Of course, if you're chin wagging with your PAs and they're happily responding, that's fine. But what I mean is if you're not talking to your PA about anything important, you're not chin wagging or just anything. I think sometimes if think of something, we'll go, I'll quickly ask my PA now. We do that. And then it's outside of, perhaps they're not on shift and then things can get complicated because they then think, oh, hang on a minute, if we answer messages whenever, I can send you messages. And I've had PAs emailing me at like 1, 2 a.m. asking me things that weren't urgent. And then I was like, right, we need to draw some boundaries here. So I have a set thing with my girls. If we're chin wagging, if they're happily texting back, then I'm happy to talk to them when they're off shift. No, not a worry at all. However, if we're not communicating outside of shift and it is unreasonable quite late at night or early hours of the morning, then unless it's an emergency, I'd avoid that because it just for the reason that if you text them at that time and expect a response, they will vice versa. And like we all know, our heads aren't always fully compos mentis for various reasons, depending on what disability we have. And so it can get really, really blurred and it can get stressful because naturally, for me, for example, I have a brain that forgets things so easily. So I used to send a message all just literally when it popped in my head. Otherwise, I'd forget. And it was something I needed an answer for. So what I do instead now is I schedule an email. So I write the email and I schedule it so it sends to them at a reasonable hour, but it's out of my head while I remember it. So things like that can be really useful. Sometimes PAs will chat about personal issues during work time, or they may begin making decisions because they think they know what you'd want. If that isn't appropriate, address it early. If you don't explain your boundaries, your PA won't know what is or isn't acceptable. One thing I've learned is that boundaries don't make you cold or bossy. They protect both of you. They help your PA understand their role and give you confidence as an employer. They also prevent smaller issues from becoming bigger problems. One of the biggest mindset changes I had to make was remembering this. I didn't hire a friend, I hired an employee. That can sound harsh, but it's true. As employers, we have legal responsibilities. We manage rotas, contracts, annual leave, payroll, training, and performance. If we avoid difficult conversations because we're worried about upsetting someone, we're not doing our job. I've spoken to many PA employers over the years, and I often hear the same things. I don't know how to say no. I don't want to upset them. I feel guilty. I don't want them to leave. I felt exactly the same, but I've discovered that the earlier you deal with something, the easier it is. If your PA starts arriving late, messages you every evening or work, boundaries begin to blur. Have the conversation early. Small conversations prevent big problems. Remember, your PA deserves clarity. Clear expectations help them feel more confident and secure. It's not about creating distance, it's about creating professionalism. I know I now make time to regularly check in with my PA, not just about work, but about how we're working together. I asking questions like, is there anything we could do differently? Is there anything you're unclear on? Helps build trust while keeping the relationship professional. Saying no also became much easier once I realized it wasn't making me unkind, it was making me honest. Sometimes it's perfectly appropriate to say, let's discuss that during shift. I'm not comfortable with that. Simple, respectful responses reinforce healthy boundaries. Don't compare your relationship with someone else's. Some PA employees become very close to their PAs, while others have things more formal. The right approach is the one that allows you to manage your employee confidently and fairly, and whatever suits you and them. One day you may need to discuss sickness, performance, or even ending employment. Those conversations are much easier when clear boundaries have been put in place from the beginning. So don't think of boundaries as building a wall. Think of them as building a fence. You can still chat over the fence. You can still laugh together. You can still enjoy each other's company, but everyone knows where the boundary is. So I'd like to leave with 3 things to remember. It's okay to be friendly. It's okay to have boundaries. Looking after your own well-being is just as important as looking after your PAs. Being a PA employer is a huge responsibility. You won't get everything right, and that's okay. Keep learning, keep communicating, and remember that healthy boundaries create healthier working relationships for everyone.